There you go, get him. There he goes, running. Running. Get him, get him, get him, get him. Get him, boy. Get him. He's caught in that tree. Oh, he got him. Get him, boy. Get him.
You know what time it is.
Welcome back to another episode of Get 'em Greg Fishing. I'm Greg Williams, and today me and my father Phil are going to show you how we restored a 2008 Bass Tracker Pro Team 175 TXW. Stay tuned.
This boat was billed as the world's best-selling fishing boat package. The exclusive all-welded Revolution hull delivered the smoothest, driest, best-handling rides. It came equipped with a Mercury Pro Series 50 horsepower outboard, 2 Humminbird fish finders, motor guide foot-controlled trolling motor, and an aerated live well with timer, recirculation, and pump out. It also had sleek painted hull sides and gunnels with natural aluminum bottom for durability. This fully featured package includes an easy-to-tow custom trailer with Galva Shield protection, easy lube hubs, and a swing-away tongue. This project will be the first Bass Tracker restoration that we have ever tackled. Each morning after meeting at a local restaurant for breakfast, me and my father would work on the project for about an hour or two each day. Although there were many days we did not work on the boat, it ended up taking us about 60 hours and 2 months to complete. In the end, this boat restoration came out great. We purchased this boat from a friend of mine who had left it sitting in a storage lot uncovered for approximately 3 years. As a result, the weather had taken a toll on the carpet, seats, and plastic parts throughout the boat. We will show you how we went about restoring this boat, including recarpeting, installing new seats, painting, and engine prep. We started out by removing the front deck. The front deck is simply a wooden platform wrapped in carpet with several aluminum panels attached to it. Normally we would carefully remove the carpet so we could use it as a template when cutting the new carpet. However, in this instance, the carpet was so badly weathered that it fell apart simply from the wind as we drove down the road. This made it very easy to find the screws which held the front deck down. We simply removed roughly 20 screws and lifted the wooden panel out of the boat. There are approximately 7 aluminum lid panels along with several aluminum frames that have to be removed either by drilling out rivets or by removing screws that hold the panels and frames in place. Be sure to use caution when removing the rivets and only drill the rivet head out, then punch the remaining portion of the rivets back through the hole rather than drilling completely through the aluminum hinge. After removing all the aluminum deck lids from the boat, we began removing all of the hardware such as latches and locks. The next step was to remove the carpet and strip the glue off each of the deck lids. In this video we'll go through a couple of them and show you step by step how we did it. Ideally, you would want to pull the carpet off in one piece as to use it as a template for the new carpet you will install. However, this carpet was so badly sun damaged it simply was impossible to remove the carpet without it falling apart. We found that if you begin this process in the early morning hours when the dew was still on the ground, it was slightly easier than doing it at midday when the sun was out. We started by pulling as much of the carpet off of the panels as we could. Then we used chisels and scrapers to remove as much glue as possible. We then used a wire brush as well as a sandpaper flapper disc to remove the excess glue. We picked up the flapper disc and the sandpaper at our local Harbor Freight store. The sandpaper flapper disc worked the best and made short work of removing the glue. By the time we had made it to our final panel, our flapper disc had gummed up with glue, and we used WD-40 with a scraper and a rag to finish. There was a good many questions as to how to remove the seats from the boat. The bottom seat cushions simply raise up, and each one is held in place by a hinge with 5 screws attached. Simply unscrew the 5 screws from the hinge plate and pull the bottom portion of the seat out. The back portion of the seat sits in a panel and is screwed in from the side of the panel. To remove the panel, there is one screw that sits on the left-hand side closest to the side of the boat that needs to be removed, and another one on the same location on the right side of the boat. Then there are 4 more screws located in between the seat cushions that need to be removed. Once all the screws are taken out, simply lift the panel up and the panel and the seat will come out.
Screw
there was
on
2
each
on
side.
top here and 2 at the bottom.
Okay. And then that just pulls up.
Yeah.
Alright. You lift that out. And it's got a bunch of bolts in the back that holds them seats on.
We turned our attention to the rear of the boat. In hindsight, the only panel that needed to be removed was the one behind the shifter box that sat behind the driver and went to the back of the boat. This panel was the access location for all the wires that ran to the instrument panel, shifter, and steering column. The entire back of the boat is a series of aluminum decking that is riveted in. We began removing the rivets prior to realizing this step did not need to be done. We then removed all the old carpet and scraped the glue off the rear deck. We used basically the same tools to scrape the glue off the back of the boat as we did with the aluminum panels. Afterwards, we vacuumed up all the debris from the floors and then pressure washed off the entire boat. As we removed the screws from all the panels, latches, and other items, we put each of them into separate baggies and labeled each of the baggies as to where the items came from in order for us to know where to put them back when we reassemble the boat. After prepping the boat, I then measured both seats along with the middle console. I then went online to purchase the new seats and carpet. I found the website bestboatseats.com and found the perfect seats for this project. BestBoatSeats.com carries a large selection of boat seats, carpet, and other accessories. I ended up ordering the deck-mate bass boat seats in gray and white, along with matching seats for the front and back, along with a console that will sit between the driver and passenger seats. I found the carpet I wanted at Amazon.com, along with the glue to adhere the carpet to the boat. Be sure to purchase a glue that will stick to both wood and aluminum. When measuring and cutting the carpet, make sure that your carpet is placed face down on a flat surface. Each deck panel and lid should be oriented in the same direction as they was found on the boat in order for the carpet fibers to lay in the same direction. We used a 4-foot metal ruler that was 1.5 inches wide to cut out our patterns. This made it easy for us to leave 1.5 inches extra material on all sides of our deck panels and lids. There are several different ways to attach the carpet to the deck panels and lids. surface of your carpet.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay? Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue.
We ended up placing several support boards underneath the seat platform for extra strength. These were made out of oak due to oak's natural ability to be resistant to water and moisture. If you choose to do this, be sure to check and make sure the thickness of your support boards will not interfere with support beams, or in our case rod sleeves that run underneath the wooden deck platform. Marine grade plywood is not cheap. To save money, we ended up using the same front deck board that was original to the boat and simply flipped it over and used the bottom of the board as the top. We sealed the deck board front and back with a coating of glue, then attached the carpet to the boards with another coat of glue and staples. Prior to ordering your carpet and glue, be sure to measure your boat and purchase more than what you need. For this boat, it was 17 foot long and about 5 foot wide, so we ended up purchasing a roll of carpet that was 8 foot wide by 25 foot long. We also purchased 2 gallons of glue and ended up using about 1.5 gallons. We were finally finished recarpeting everything, and now it was time to put all the platforms and deck lids back on. We pre-marked all of the existing holes by using an ice pick to poke holes through the carpet. Then we used a black Sharpie to mark each of the holes that the ice pick made. This saved us time and kept us from guessing where each of the screws went. The first 3 deck lids you see here are held down by the large wooden deck board. The screws are tightened through the deck board, through the deck hinges, into the metal framing below the deck lids. These are the only deck lids that are done this way. All other deck lids are put on via aluminum rivets. Once we completed the front section of the boat, we turned our attention to the rear of the boat. We ended up using one large piece of carpet to recover all of the aluminum decking. We had trouble trying to remove the riser from the seat, so we had to measure and cut a hole to accommodate the seat platform. Once we got the carpet roughly in place where we wanted it, we began cutting the excess carpet from around the outer edges of the boat and then pushing them underneath the frame. Be sure to pay close attention to what you are cutting so you do not accidentally overcut a piece of the carpet. Once we had the carpet where we wanted it, we rolled half of it back over while we applied the glue. We then flipped the carpet back over, pulled it tight, and pressed it down using a handheld roller. We then repeated the process on the other side. Once all of the carpet was in place, we rolled the entire deck with the carpet roller to help adhere the carpet and glue to the deck and let it set up to dry for 24 hours. We then started cutting out the remaining 4 hatches. The first 2 hatches we cut were smaller ones located on the left and right side of the boat. These 2 hatches were insulated with plastic trays that could be inserted and used as coolers for drinks, food, or frozen bait. Since the hatches were insulated, there was no lip where we could attach a binder clip to hold the carpet in place while it dried. So what we did was we inserted the plastic trays into the hatch and then used scrap pieces of molding to hold the carpet in place while it dried. We finished up the rear deck by cutting the carpet away from the 2 remaining hatches. Once all of the carpet had been trimmed, we simply applied glue to the back side of the carpet and held the carpet in place by using binder clips and wood clamps. These were attached to a lip that ran along the inner edge of the hatch. When riveting the deck lids back on, be sure to use long rivets. The only place we was able to find those was at Home Depot. We decided to recover the panel that the shifter box was located on. Taking off the shifter ended up being a bit tricky. We started by removing the middle plastic button that allows you to put the motor into neutral. In order to remove the button, simply take a screwdriver and gently put it underneath the lip of the button and pry it out. Once the button is out, you will find a brass nut that will need to be taken out. Be cautious when removing this nut because it will strip easy. We ended up having to soak the brass nut in WD-40 overnight. We then had to modify a socket wrench by grinding off the very bottom of the socket to create a completely flat surface in order for the socket to sit correctly to allow us to unloosen the nut. Once we got the nut off, there was simply 4 bolts and 3 screws that need to be taken off in order to slip the shifter and housing back through the panel. After recarpeting the shifter panel, we reattached the shifter box assembly back onto the panel. FedEx was quick to deliver our seats. Prior to doing anything, we inspected each of the boxes to make sure all of our seats had been delivered and none were damaged. We then began disassembling the front and back seats. Several of the screws were rusted so badly that we ended up having to use a hacksaw to cut through the bolts to remove the metal base where the seat riser attached. Once we got the old seat off, it was very easy to reattach the new seats to the base. We turned our attention to the driver and passenger side bucket seats on the boat. The brackets that held the original seats to the boat did not line up with the holes on the bottom of our new seat cushions, so we had to remove the hinges by drilling out 4 rivets that held them in place. We then lined up the new hinges, marked where the holes needed to be, drilled, and then screwed the bottom seat cushions in place. The back seat cushion has a middle section that needs to be pulled out in order to screw it to the boat. This section is held in place by pieces of Velcro. Our Velcro ripped as we pulled the middle section out, so we had to replace the Velcro and restaple it in place. The back cushion has a plastic access panel where you can use pre-cut holes to run your screws through to attach them to our boat. We end up having to drill our own holes in order to attach them to our boat. Although the original design of the boat had a middle seat, we decided to put in a middle console with drink holders instead. Luckily, the original seat hinges lined up with the holes on our console, so all we had to do was attach the console with 3 bolts. We started prepping the motor by first draining all of the old gas from the tank and replacing it with new non-ethanol fuel. We then removed the air box to expose the carburetors. We thoroughly soaked all 3 carburetors intakes with carb cleaner, making sure to spray as much possible into any of the small holes located along the inside wall of the carburetors. We let that soak in for a few minutes, then we removed the drain screws from the bottom of each of the carburetor bowls and thoroughly sprayed through the holes in an attempt to clean any junk that may be in the bowl or in the carburetor floats.
We immediately saw black gunk dripping from the holes. After a few more squirts of the carb cleaner, the black gunk eventually turned green, then clear.
In order to remove the bottom drain screw, you will need an offset screwdriver. Once we had all of the drain screws removed, we pumped fuel through the carburetors using the fuel bulb to help push any dirt or debris that may have been in the carburetors. We then replaced all of the screws and let the motor sit for about 24 hours. We replaced all of the spark plugs and charged the battery overnight in preparation to see if the motor would turn over. While attempting to crank the motor, we sprayed additional carb cleaner into each of the carburetor intakes until the motor turned over. We then let the motor sit for an additional 24 hours. The following day, we set up a barrel full of water and placed the motor into the barrel so we could run the motor for an extended period of time. This kept the motor cooled down while the motor ran. We started off by spraying additional carb cleaner into the carbs, then switched to spraying gas into them once the motor cranked.
After a few minutes of running the motor, it seemed to be running better and no longer needed carb cleaner or gas sprayed into the carburetors to get it to start running.
There it goes. It's squirting now.
We also added stay-bil additive to the gas and ran the motor for an additional 30 minutes. Although we were confident that the boat would run fine once we got it on the water, it did not perform very well. We ended up having to take the boat to have the carburetors rebuilt and all of the lines replaced at a local repair shop. We were unable to get the trolling motor to turn on. We first checked the wiring at the plug and found that it was getting the required 12 volts. We then inspected the foot pedal, and then finally I tried turning the blade by hand and it would not budge. We decided to pull the bottom unit apart to see if we could figure out what was going on. We found that the water had gotten into the sealed case and had rusted all of the motor wiring together. Rather than trying to repair the motor, we decided that it would be best to find another trolling motor. Luckily, I knew where we could get a replacement for around $175 that was the exact brand and had the same amount of thrust as the original one we took off. So we took a drive to the local repair shop to pick it up. Once we got back home, we simply drilled a few holes into the boat to attach the trolling motor to. We then rewired the wiring harness, plugged it in, and turned it on. We did find that the on-off switch wasn't working properly, so we took it apart and found that a small rubber boot was worn out and needed to be replaced. A few days later, we got the boat back from the shop and took it out for a test drive.
Mr. Greg checking out his boat, running perfect. Just cost him a little bit of money to get it fixed, but that's all right. We can use that to go fishing next day or two. Here it comes back, wide open. A lot of trash in the water. "50-horsepower Mercury on there, take it about 30 miles an hour, which is plenty fast.
The boat ran great and hit a top speed of 31 miles per hour. I failed to mention that I had one of my longtime buddies, Charlie Medlin, hook me up by setting up and installing 2 rod holders that held 4 rods each, both front and back, so me and my father could comfortably crappie fish out of the boat. It came time to clean the boat up, so we put in a little elbow grease to get the 3 years worth of dirt and grime back off the boat. We started out by wiping down the boat with a wet cloth. We then got serious and pulled out the old pressure washer to get as much dirt and grime off as we possibly could. I had seen online where people were using a product called Purple Power Aluminum Bright to remove the dirt and scum from their boat. They had rave reviews saying it made their boat look as if it was brand new again. To be honest, after using the product, I was a bit disappointed because it looked a bit streaky even after applying the product several times. If I had it all over to do again, I would not use this product on the boat. Most of the plastic parts on the boat were badly faded by sitting out in the sun uncovered for the previous 3 years. I found that using Black Magic Tire Wet will bring back the original shine to all of these parts.
Before you leave, be sure to check out our description page below. This page gives you a brief description of the video you are currently watching along with the fishing gear we used during the filming of this video. Click onto the Show More link to view all of this information. In upcoming episodes, we'll begin a new segment where we test out products that are sent to us. If you would like your product to be featured on one of our upcoming episodes, our contact and shipping information is also included on this page. I want to thank you for watching our videos, and if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to our channel to get notifications